Hello, friend. Today I'm going to narrate a real horror incident. If you haven't already, you should check out Please Don't Try This to understand what this is about. So, let me start by saying I have never done anything like this before and had no idea what to expect. But I have always been more guts than brains, so I figured, what the hell, give it a shot. I don't have a basement in my apartment, so I had to go to my dad's house. I set up everything earlier in the afternoon, 3 wooden armrest chairs, 2 big mirrors I borrowed from my stepmother. My power object was a watch from my grandfather. I did deviate from the setup, which you can read at Please Don't Actually Try This, but only just a little. I did set the bucket and mug of water in the floor, but I had no idea what to do with it. I used a small box fan I placed several feet behind me on low, which was still rather strong. I used a 3-inch pillar candle on a plate for my candle. I got nervous and completely forgot my cell phone, so much for that backup. The basement itself is very large. It extends almost the entire length of the house and is unfinished, so it's bare cement and one room is framed, but not yet dry-walled. There are no windows, it still has that familiar basement feel. Anyway, I set up like I said, and tried to get some sleep on the couch while my girlfriend painted. My alarm woke me up at 3:30 and I lit my candle in darkness and made my way down the steps to the basement. She sat by the door at the top of the stairs and read while I went in. When I went down the stairs, I was extremely nervous and excited, and I forced myself to stare at my hands and the candle flickering between them and nothing else. Immediately when I entered, I felt like someone was in the room with me, a definite presence. I made my way to my throne, being very careful not to knock anything over or to look at the mirrors, and took my seat between the 2 mirrors and stared directly ahead into the darkness. I sat there very still for several minutes, staring into the darkness and trying to concentrate while the candle flickered in my hands. The dim light made it feel like everything around me was jumping and moving, and I kept seeing my reflection dancing in the mirror in my peripheral. Shortly thereafter, I started to feel as if the room had no walls. There was a sense of emptiness, like I was in the middle of a never-ending blackness. I sat there trying not to get freaked out by the feeling of openness when I started seeing movement in the mirrors on both sides of me. They moved even when I didn't, and when I shielded my eyes from the candle, trying to eliminate the glowing under my face, they still moved. At this point, I began to get really nervous and focused really hard, trying to make sense of the things I was seeing in my peripheral and fighting the urge to just look. Focusing so hard on my peripheral, and the steady hum of the fan behind me started to give me a headache. I was trying so hard to see without looking that I didn't notice at first when I started hearing the murmuring. It didn't sound like whispering. It sounded more like listening to conversation through a pillow, and I don't know how long I heard it before I realized it wasn't just in my head. At first I thought I was imagining it, and I leaned forward trying to hear better, because for some reason it made sense at the time. But the fan sounded like a hurricane, and I felt like I couldn't hear over it. I kept seeing movement in the glass as I was leaning forward, and I resisted the urge to look. I asked if I was alone, and the murmuring went silent. I waited several minutes in silence on the edge of my seat. I don't think I breathed. I resisted the urge to bolt up the stairs like a little kid. "Who am I talking to?" I asked. "Someone who knows" came from my left. "Yourself" came from my right. Both answers were clear as a bell. I seriously got the creeps and considered putting the candle out, but instead someone who knows what I asked. I heard some more murmuring coming from both sides, both talking over each other, and I couldn't make out anything that was said except "why you're here." The movement in the glass seemed to increase on both sides, It seemed to be not just moving in, but coming out of the glass toward me on my left, and I leaned away a little and almost tipped my chair over. I started hearing things around me in the room, breathing, ticking, a knock here and there, and while I was listening to it go on all around me and feeling surrounded, they bickered with each other. Sometimes I wasn't even sure what about, except that they were talking about me, and the one on my left knew things I had never told anyone. My doubts about faith, the mean things I'd said to friends in fights, etc., and more so, things I wouldn't even repeat here. I felt like the one on my left was trying to lure me from my chair. It wanted to show me things. At a certain point, I felt like something was right behind me, and I felt like the conversation was getting further away. For me, I leaned forward, straining to hear better, and realized after a few tense minutes that the steady hum of the fan was gone. I don't remember when it went off. I didn't even notice, except that by the time I did realize it, I was getting hot and stuffy. When I noticed the fan was off, I panicked and jumped out of my seat and dropped the candle, at which point it went out. I grabbed the candle and tried to relight it again, because I figured it was like bad voodoo for the candle to go out, and I only had a few seconds to light it or something, but it wouldn't light, which freaked me out. More candle wax on the wick. I bolted for the light switch and cut it on and left the room. My girlfriend was sitting outside the door waiting for me and asked me what happened and said she had checked on me a couple times, knocking on the door and calling down to me, and heard I'm fine. Aside from that, she never heard anything from inside the room. I'm not sure what exactly happened in there or if I am crazy. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask and I'll answer as best I can. But that's my experience with the Three Kings. That being said, I am fascinated and will certainly be trying this again soon, with maybe a little less nerve and a little more preparation of what to expect. And if anyone has anything else for me to try, send me the suggestion and I'll do it. It was a crazy experience. Also, in spite of what I have been told, I am just overly curious and I have to know what you see when you look in the mirrors. So I plan on trying this again soon, and I will look in the mirror next time. That being said, Fable, I am going to do it of my own volition, and you have zero responsibility in the outcome, LOL. A few years ago, my best friend of over a decade killed himself, and this was the first thing it attacked me with. Left, you let him die, it's your fault. Me, it's not my fault, I didn't know he was in that deep. Left, because you never cared about anyone but yourself. Me, that's not true. Left, yes it is, but that's okay, come on over here, and see him now. Later on, left, you are going to hell, you are going to burn me. I have faith, right? You can't lie to us. It's my advice to everybody, please stay away from any abandoned place, scary games. Always inquire about the house before moving. Keep yourself and others safe from any type of scary activity. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.